Well, good morning. Breakfast with the broker. We have a very special edition because it's a Friday edition. We normally have a Tuesday edition, but today we have a special guest, so we gave him the Friday edition right before the weekend. So I know you guys are all fired up. And now, by way of Boca Raton, Florida, he is the Palm Beach County District 4 and Palm Beach County Vice Mayor. He's the chair at Solid Waste Authority. He is the former city of Boca Raton councilman. He's a father, a husband, a brother. And if there's an event in Palm Beach County, he and his wife are always there. A supporter, a philanthropist of all things Palm Beach County. Stand up and make some noise for Commissioner Robert S. Weinroth.
Well, thank you. I've never had quite an introduction like that before.
I feel like I'm in the Miami Heat game now.
I guess we need the horn, and we're ready to go. How you doing this morning?
Very well, Commissioner Weinroth. And, it's really a pleasure speaking with you and getting to know you over the last few months. And, I really, really appreciate all the work that you've done with Palm Beach County. Tell us a little bit about what a Palm Beach County Commissioner does.
Well, I'm glad you asked that because when I was originally running for office, people would say, so what does a commissioner do? And I'd say, well, we do land use. We worry about making sure your garbage is picked up. We make sure the water is coming out of the faucet. And then came the pandemic. And then people really knew what a county commissioner did. We're the people who told you stay home, self-isolate, put a mask on, get vaccinated. That's where we came into this. So, the world in the last 18 months really has dramatically changed my job description.
If you follow Commissioner Weinroth on social media, he does a great job. And, you always put out the, two things I really, really like as far as content going. You always put out the Sun Sentinel and on what the congressmen and congresswomen are saying, and kind of maybe what the just a little bit of documentation of each week or so. And then you also do the COVID stats. And everyone, looks at the media and thinks that the COVID stats are going to be skewed and this and that, but you actually put the facts with the hospitalizations and such. And I know that a lot of the constituents and residents in Palm Beach County certainly appreciate that.
Well, I try and make it a no spin zone. And the fact is, there are facts out there, and I want people to look at them. And whether they're good or bad, I want them to be able to take a look at them and make a decision for themselves.
And how can we follow you on social media, especially, where you quote Ted Deutsch, you quote Lois Frankel, you quote Emily Schlossberg, Mike Caruso, all the people that are in our local area and all the way up to the Florida legislature. How do we follow you on social media?
Well, there are several ways. Of course, there's my Facebook page, Robert Weinroth on Facebook. I have also my official page on the Palm Beach County website, palmbeachcountygov.org, where I maintain a more official website. But, what you've been referring to with Ted Deutsch and with Lois Frankel and Emily Schlossberg, our elected officials, a lot of us are contributing on a weekly basis to something called South Florida 100 over at the Sun Sentinel. And it's a great opportunity for a lot of us to give 100 words on what we think is the most important story from last week and what we think will be the next important story going forward. And so I've been contributing to that now for the last 6 or 7 years. And a lot of those others are members of Congress and members on the commission and representatives do the same thing. And it's a great way of just getting a temperature of what is important to our elected leaders. So I encourage anybody who doesn't take the Sun Sentinel to go online and take a look at what's there on Sundays. And certainly if you do take the Sun Sentinel, take a look at the last page of the first section, and that will give you probably about 16 members of the community, both in Broward and in Palm Beach County. And we'll tell you a little bit of what we think are the important stories.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a great job by the Sun Sentinel because, when you look at it, you want to know about your area. and you want to know, about, what the congressmen and congresswomen or commissioners or and such and council men and women, so you want to know what they're thinking about, what their priorities might be and those things, and I remember I asked Congressman Deutsch one time, like what, we see all this media and all this fighting and infighting and Republican and Democrat and no one gets along, and is that really like that? And he said no. He says on a couple major issues, yeah, but certainly they work together every day, and you kind of see that in that synopsis of that Sun Sentinel 100.
Well, and I'm glad you point that out, because I have talked to the congressman, and he has said the same thing, that for the most part they are collegial, they get along, they are all on the same page for 80% of the issues. It's that 20% where, of course, the old saying in the news business is if it bleeds, it leads. So there's no reason to put on the front page, Congress agreed to, do this. It's when that they come and they don't agree with each other. That's the story. But, on my level, both when I was on the city council and now on the county commission, I think we're in more of a position of being collegial than being partisan. And notwithstanding the fact that when I did get elected to the county commissioner, it was a partisan election, the seven of us who sit up there don't sit there and say, well, you're a Democrat, so you must be leaning this way. You're a Republican, and you must be leaning that way. The seven of us really are focused on Palm Beach County. And I think that both on a municipal level and on a county level, that's the best way of approaching the issues that are confronting us.
Absolutely. So in Palm Beach County, because a lot of our viewers are those either residents or relocating into Palm Beach County. What are some upcoming things that you're looking at going forward?
Well, one issue that probably will resonate with you is the issue of housing. Before the pandemic even arrived, we recognized the fact that we needed to do something about workforce housing. Now, what is workforce housing? Workforce housing is someplace decent for someone to live who's working here in Palm Beach County, who's going and getting an education in Palm Beach County. We want them to be able to live in Palm Beach County. The saying is let's be able to live, work, worship, and play in Palm Beach County. The problem is, even before the pandemic, that housing values were getting to a point where it was unattainable for people who were making a decent salary, making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, but could not afford a decent place to live in Palm Beach County. With the pandemic, that's only gotten worse. We've seen housing values jump almost 30% in the last 6 months, which is great if you own a place, because you say, oh my God, look at this equity I've built up. But if you're looking for your first time home ownership, or if you're looking for an apartment, it becomes very, very difficult. So as a commission, we are focusing now on what we can do to get more inventory, because again, it's supply and demand. It's a matter of not having enough supply of, again, decent housing. And so that's just driving the cost up. And we're trying to work with developers. And when we approve a new project, there has to be a certain amount of that project set aside specifically for workforce housing. And going forward, we're going to be looking at other opportunities. Sadowsky Fund, which is something that was set up years ago by the legislature, taking those tax stamps that are put on documents when you buy a home or when you get a mortgage, or any document that's recorded, has a stamp on it, and you're paying taxes. That money is supposed to be set aside, a portion of it, for affordable housing. And unfortunately, our legislature has used that as a piggy bank over the last few years when there's been an emergency like Hurricane Michael that hit the Panhandle, and they raided that money and they used it to help those people up in the Panhandle. And I'm not saying that that wasn't a worthwhile use, but this money was supposed to be used focused on housing, and we've sort of lost sight of that. And I know the realtors at one point were thinking about an opportunity to bring this to the stakeholders and ask them for their opinion and ultimately perhaps have a constitutional amendment that would require that these trust funds be used and dedicated to the way that it was originally thought when the Sadowsky Trust Fund was established. I understand that this has now been put to the back burner, and I think that there's going to be a conversation in Tallahassee, and maybe we'll see some more movement to dedicating these funding sources towards the original objective.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been assurances, and right now they just suspended the petition. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund petition. But they're using that obviously, just in case that the Florida Realtors compromise with the Florida legislature doesn't go forward as it's intended, which we believe it will. So hopefully there'll be more details on that. And you look at the SHIP programs like the city of Boca that has, what other affordable housing down payment assistance programs are available in Palm Beach County?
Well, one of the things we're able to do because we get money from developers who wish not to develop the affordable or workforce housing. They would opt out and they will pay us money up to about $80,000 per unit for a to be able to opt out of, again, building workforce housing. So we take that money and use it to help people make down payments and make it more affordable for them to purchase a home. So there are other programs that we are involved in, and as I said before, the pandemic has really changed a lot of all these dynamics. And we've been using money from the CARES Act to help people stay in their homes. We were taking money and helping people pay their rent, pay for their utilities, mortgage assistance, and of course, nutritional assistance. And a lot of that money went out into the community, especially when people were being asked to stay home, not go to work, not go out and put themselves out there at risk for the COVID transmission. And we've used that money to help people out. So the county has been using both the federal funding and our money that we get from the state and the money we generate right here in Palm Beach County from development to try and focus it on helping our residents be able to, again, afford to buy and afford to rent in our county.
Yeah, with all the people that have been coming into Palm Beach County and relocating from the Northeast, Midwest, California, even so we have so many more people. And I saw a stat the other day that over the country, there's a 7 million housing shortage, a 7 million resident housing shortage, and and you think about it, it's like people are like, oh, is the real estate bubble coming, and such, and certainly it doesn't seem that that's going to be the case. But one of the things that was interesting is traffic, right? So traffic has become one of your counterparts, Steve Abrams. It's been his kind of project, but you look at it and you go, well, how are you going to make traffic better? And then we were speaking with
What one of the things, and it's interesting because the conversation about workforce housing is very impactful on congestion. Because if people can't afford to live in Palm Beach County, and they just can't find something that's decent, and now they're moving up to St. Lucie County or they're moving down to Broward. Well, now those people have to get onto I-95 every day to commute into work or to come to school. And that increased congestion is making life more miserable for those of us who are here. And you did mention Stephen Abrams. He's my predecessor from the county commission. He was a mayor in Boca Raton. And now his job is at the SFRTA, which is South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, which is the organization that basically runs Tri-Rail. And Stephen always said that if he can get people onto the train, one train was like taking a lane of traffic off of I-95. And we have got to be able to invest in public transportation, both PalmTran, Brightline, which is not really public transportation, but still is going to get people out of their cars, and of course, Tri-Rail. We get people to start embracing public transportation, and we get people to live closer to their jobs, closer to where they want to go. We're going to be able to reduce that congestion. And again, we can't pave our way out of congestion. People are coming here, and they've figured out what you and I thought of and realized years ago. This is the place to live. Like that palm tree behind you in that picture. This is where we want to live. This is our piece of paradise. But we also recognize that we have to make sure that our piece of paradise doesn't get paved over in our zeal to try and accommodate all those people coming from the Northeast or from California. So we're working to balance it, but we also need to make sure that we are not so constrained in our development that we're now pushing prices up because there's just no supply. Again, going back to the idea of supply and demand. No supply, demand goes up, prices are going to go through the roof.
Sure. And we had a Zoom meeting with Brightline yesterday, and it was just really, really informational because it's amazing the technology that they've done. And I know that they're a private company, but I was amazed at the construction that they were talking about, where they would normally have to close a road for like 18 months or somewhere in that neighborhood. And now they're building tracks beneath the roads with hydraulic systems, so that when they have to close the road, they're only closing the road for like a week.
It's really been very impressive. We had a presentation by the president of Brightline last week, and he was telling us that through the pandemic, even though they've taken the trains off the tracks as far as passenger rail, they have been working to get themselves, number one, setting the station up in Boca Raton, which is going to be really exciting for Boca Raton, and then moving forward, getting those stations up the line so that the commuters next year, and I don't want to use the word commuters, so that the train travelers are going to be able to go from Miami to Orlando and ultimately out to Tampa. And we're looking for that to be an alternate to Tri-Rail, because Tri-Rail's for commuters, and we're looking for the Brightline to really be for people who are looking to get off of the road on a long distance drive to Orlando or a drive down to Miami for a game. And it's really going to be a tremendous opportunity. Again, getting cars off the road, being able to comfortably travel on a train, do your work, have Wi-Fi. I think it's an exciting opportunity, and we are really looking forward to it. And I know Boca Raton is very excited about the opportunity to have a Brightline station, because this is going to bring more people into their downtown. And they're talking about even the possibility of a performing arts center downtown. And this is a perfect complement to having the rail system dropping off people from both Broward and from North County.
Yeah, they gave us a timeline, and we know how timelines go, but they gave us a timeline of Boca and Aventura to be in the last half of it's probably closer to November, December of next year. Construction in Boca is supposed to start like shortly, like
Right.
soon, within weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, they've already moved the community garden. The junior league
Mhm.
had their community garden right there next to the library, so they've relocated that. And I know the city council has approved all of the underlying agreements with Brightline. So it's really it's going to happen, and it's exciting for Boca Raton. It's exciting for South County, and I am a real proponent of public transportation. And I think that this is just going to be another opportunity for us to encourage people who, when they lived up north, embraced public transportation. Most people in Manhattan jump onto the subway, jump onto a city bus, and they don't think anything of it. We've got to get people down here to be able to, leave their car in the garage, especially if they live in a downtown area. If they live in an urban area, they should be able to get onto a circulator or walk to where they want to be or take a bicycle. And the more that we can get people out of their cars, the better it is for health and the better it is for congestion.
No, agreed, absolutely. So, what else can you tell us about Palm Beach County and things that are coming up potentially? One of the things that before you answer that question, one of the things that I'm always amazed at is, I mean, I think I go to a lot of events, but I don't go nearly as many events as you guys do, and I can tell you, how do you get out to all those events and support the community as much as you do? Both philanthropically, as well as, being, attending these events. So it's pretty
Well,
amazing.
I have a great partner. My wife is terrific. She is out there with me constantly. I couldn't do it without her. Last night we were at the Junior League. They were celebrating their 50th anniversary. And again, it's a wonderful organization of women who have been giving back to our community for half a century. And we are so fortunate. People look at Boca and they look down their noses. Oh, you play tennis all day and golf. You're in your Beamer and your Rolls or whatever. And we have a lot of giving people in our community, and they're philanthropic. And if they can't write a check, they roll up their sleeves and they help. Boca Helping Hands, Florence Fuller. I mean, I can name you a dozen organizations that are getting our residents excited about their mission and who are out there helping the people within our community who don't have all of the opportunities that we have. And it's exciting, and I don't get tired of going out there and supporting these organizations because I think their missions are so important. And again, if it wasn't for Pam being at my side, it would be much more difficult to be out to these organizations. But I am absolutely so excited to be out among our residents and hear from them about what's important to them. So I'm probably out 2 or 3 nights a week, and it really is exciting to see all of the nonprofits that are out there making life better for people.
Yeah, I mean, you and Pamela are, both supporters and contributors to so many organizations, but you're also contributing to the communities that you serve. And so I know that personally I so respect that and certainly appreciate it, because not only are you're going out to the events and showing people to get out there and support them in that way, but you're also creating great content. And now that you're an expert podcaster, um, where can we find your podcast? Because you have great guests and you have great information on Palm Beach County.
Well, like you, obviously, we were happy to have you on our podcast. Um, I would direct people either to Apple or Spotify to see our podcast there, or you can go right onto my Facebook page. Every week we drop another podcast. I put the link on there, and I give you a little bit of a taste of what's going to be on the current podcast. Last week, as a matter of fact, we had Stephen Abrams on there, and he spoke about Tri-Rail. This week we have Doug Mosley, and we also had Troy McClellan talking about the chamber, Greater Boca Chamber, and the upcoming Boca Raton Bowl, the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl, which is going to be in December. And we're so excited to have that back for the 8th year. So there's a lot exciting going on in our community. And this podcast has been my opportunity to shine a spotlight on some either nonprofits or profits, and just let people see what's going on. We're going to have the Norton Museum in there pretty soon. We had the Museum of Art in Boca Raton, which was talking about the Machu Picchu exhibit that's coming real soon. Lots of exciting stuff happening in South Palm Beach.
And it's called the Palm Beach Perspective,
The
correct?
Palm Beach Perspective by yours truly, Robert Weinroth.
And the funny thing is I've never heard of a new business that came to downtown Boca, where you actually do your podcast, and it's called Pod Pupil, right?
I think it's Pod Populi,
Pod,
actually.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, Pod Populi. You're absolutely
Yeah,
right,
they
and
are.
really, really, really cool.
Yeah, they are a nice organization, and I know they're members of the Boca Chamber. And they have been very, very accommodating. They have walked me through it. This is my first foray into doing podcasts, and I'm really surprised the number of people who have told me they've listened and they've really enjoyed the, again, no spin. We just put out there information. We want people ultimately to realize what you and I know is this is a great place to raise a family, great place to live, retire, do what you want, go on that beach behind you, and just really enjoy what South Florida has to offer.
So I don't know if you had an opportunity. This is my second to last question. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see the FEMA Risk 2.0. Where we're talking about I guess Palm Beach County rates for flood insurance for like 78% of the people who are in flood zones are going to go up potentially drastically. Insurance rates. Is there anything that you can share with us about what they're looking at as Palm Beach County Commission regarding insurance rates and
we
potential
have
flood zones?
we have worked on those flood maps for some time. They came back originally and they were much worse. And we have sat down with them. We've explained to them that some of their numbers were way off. And look, we have to understand, like that water behind you there, sea level is rising. We have to be cognizant of the fact that living on the coast, there are going to be situations where there's a potential for flooding. We are, as a county, working in resiliency, working with stormwater and making sure that we are addressing the need to raise up new construction so that it's not as susceptible to the water coming in during a storm. But we also have to accept the fact that, especially east of 95, there is a hazard from flooding. And we're just going to have to accept the fact that there's an additional cost to insurers to basically protect us from that 100-year storm. So, I mean, we're working with the insurance companies, working with the federal government, trying to make sure that they're being fair. But we also have to recognize that ultimately we have to pay our fair share for what is a potential risk to flooding going forward.
Great information, and thank you very much. You have an election coming up, I hope everyone will go ahead and support who is a Palm Beach County resident in District 4 to support Commissioner Weinroth. He's done a lot for the community. He continues to do it, and we certainly appreciate him. So last two questions I always end with. What was your favorite Netflix streaming series, like Hulu or Netflix? I'm not sure if you even watch it because you go out to so many events.
I got to tell you, the last 18 months during the pandemic, I got reintroduced to Netflix. Pamela and I sat down every night about 8 o'clock, pour ourselves a cup of wine or a drink, sit down with Netflix. And we've been watching Lucifer, which is very mind.
Oh, I lost you. You got lost. We lost Commissioner Weinroth for a second, but he is an amazing person. Really has contributed to the community so well, and we certainly appreciate everything he's done. Look for Breakfast with the Broker every Tuesday at 9 a.m., except when we have special editions like this. So hopefully you enjoyed the content. Hopefully you enjoyed Palm Beach County. Reach out to Palm Beach County or Palm Beach Perspective. Watch and listen to their podcast. We certainly appreciate Breakfast with the Broker. Have a great weekend, people. Talk to you soon.